by
Thank you,
our own
Senator, for
leadership.
describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator. We have so much we want to get to. Thank you for explaining the legal process. Senator, we have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn now to the economy. Gentlemen, there's a lot to discuss. We have to move on.
Yes, there's a lot to get to. They didn't get to an awful lot of it, I've got to say, but at least they started violating their own rules immediately and demonstrating the buy. That Margaret Brennan person, she's got a job at the Clinton Foundation coming up, I think. Maybe she can be the paddleboard instructor. She can become the paddleboard instructor at the Obama mansion on Martha's Vineyard. What do you think? The estate. It's really not. It would be underselling it to call it a mansion. It's the Obama estate. What is it, $16 million? Dangerous place to paddleboard, but that's why they need a new paddleboard instructor. Maybe Margaret Brennan can help with that. Paddleboard, Margaret. She demonstrated her, she showed what she's all about last night. She's a front woman for the Democrat Party. She reminded me of Olivia Nuzzi. Did she remind you of Olivia Nuzzi last night? Kind of. She was a bit Nuzzi, too. I wonder who she's dating. I know she's married. I wonder who she's dating. It's Washington. It's the news media, Hey, that was something last night, wasn't it? Happy Monday to you and welcome back. Hope you had a great American weekend. And if you watched the vice presidential debate last night, there was a lot going on. There were a lot of pieces, a lot of moving pieces, and the walls are closing in. The walls are closing in on Tim Walz. He didn't show up. What's the matter with him? He looked like he was coked up. Was he hanging out with Hunter Biden? Well, who was in the green room there? Because he was a little amped. And for him, actually, he's not as amped as he wasn't as amped last night as he normally is, because he's, what's the word, spaz. He's a spaz so much of the time. And his arms are always flailing around. He looks like, what are those things called in front of car dealerships? The 20-foot-high socks with the fan underneath? Sky dancers. He looked like, he looks like a sky dancer. And last night he was kind of a sky dancer. He was spazzing all over the place. Whereas J.D. Vance was calm, cool, collected, looked great, smooth. I was calling him J.D. Smooth, S-M-O-O-V-E, like what's his name? J.B. Smooth. J.B. So I just shifted it over to J.D. Smooth in my text threads. But incredibly smooth and polished, and he's the guy that's new to politics, and the walls are closing in. Well, he's been in politics for longer than most people have been alive. Remember, he was a war hero. Where was he, at Anzio? Is that where he was? He was, where did he? He landed on all the big islands in the Pacific. He was at Guadalcanal. He went to Iraq, right? He went to Iraq with his rifle. He carried his rifle in a combat zone. That didn't come up last night. I kept expecting, and I was kind of hoping that J.D. Vance would have a ready-to-go, spring-loaded response to one of Tim Walz's lies, and there were a great many lies. He lied a lot. He told a lot of stories that are not true because, that's what they do. They lie a lot. They say things that are not true because they know that the news media will just give them a tongue bath for lying to them. They they're like Olivia Nuzzi. They like being lied to. And various other things that I won't get into right now. It's still breakfast time, but remarkable stuff. He lied a lot, and he's all over the place. He's a war hero. What else? He had a lot of stupid things to say. He had the news media. We opened Michael Piercy. I was texting him about it last night. I'm like, there they are again. Oh, we have so much to get to. Because they got to cut him off. But they only cut off J.D. Vance. And J.D. Vance pushed back at one point and shut them down, the two reporter ladies. And he spoke up, and it was a very good moment. It was one of the best moments of the debate, really. Whereas Tim Walz, I don't think he had a good moment. If it were a football game, it would have been about 72 to, I'll be generous and say 6, 72 to 6. I'd say might be 72 to 3. I don't want to say 72 to 0 because that sounds, but 72 to 6, I think, was the football score. But J.D. Vance, J.D. Smooth, He was very good and very smooth. And I was comparing it for those who have any historical awareness. I was comparing it to the 1960 John F. Kennedy, Richard M. Nixon debate, which came to us from Chicago, Illinois. And by the way, CBS was hosting that one, too. That was a CBS News-hosted debate. It came from the CBS News headquarters in Chicago, Illinois, where I used to go when I was a kid. But that's not important now. And the studio was still famous for that when I was a little kid. This is where the Kennedy-Nixon debate was. But last night, I got to tell you, Vance was John F. Kennedy. And it was a weird, it's a little unfair because the Kennedy-Nixon debate in 1960, the radio audience believed that Richard Nixon had won the debate and dominated the debate. The TV audience overwhelmingly thought that John F. Kennedy had won the debate. I'd say last night that Tim Walz lost the debate on the radio and he lost the debate on TV. He looked like he was jonesing and freaking out and needed, I was texting someone about hitting him in the neck with a dart, like suddenly and I get it, a dart in his neck, and then he'd start being mellow. And the news media, all the news media today are saying that, well, he calmed down, Tim Walz. He started out all amped up and coked up, but he calmed down throughout the evening. I think that's a little bit generous myself, but it might be half true. Maybe he was just exhausted after 90 minutes because his brain capacity doesn't seem to be what it should be. But there were a lot of moments, good moments, and J.D. Vance just owned the place. I mean, I had friends texting me about him being the obvious Republican nominee next time around, 2028, and who knows what will happen between now and then, of course. But remarkable things, a lot of fun. There are also other stories, but we're going to obviously get into that. We got a bunch of audio for you and a lot to say, and I'm sure that you have a lot to say about it, too, because you are Americans, you are voters, you are taxpayers, you want to save the world from the troglodytes and the Democrats. Are Democrats troglodytes yet? Because they're getting awfully close, aren't they? From the river to the sea, as the Democrats say. Isn't that amazing? What are you doing if you're Jewish and you're a Democrat? What's the matter you? You got to know respect. Shut up, you face. Just amazing stuff. So we got that going. Also, the Iranians, speaking of troglodytes, I made passing mention of troglodytes. The troglodytes in Iran fired how many? More than 180 ballistic missiles. I think they call them ballistic missiles this time around at Israel. And a whole lot of them landed in Israel. Apparently one person, and fortunately I'm signing the cross, only one person was killed in this massive attack. And ironically, it was a Palestinian that they killed in the West Bank because they don't care who they kill. They just want blood. That there must be blood. There will be blood because these are bloodthirsty ghouls from hell. They're the Islamists, the Ayatollahs people. And they killed one person, and it was a Palestinian. Then there was a terrorist attack. 2 guys with guns murdered and knives murdered, I think, 7 people and wounded a number of more in Israel. Is outside of Tel Aviv. Beautiful, lovely Tel Aviv. Wonderful beaches there. You get to Tel Aviv, you want to make sure to spend a lot of time at the beach. And hopefully the troglodytes won't be on a tear because maybe they will have all been shot or something like that, which would be good. Amazing stuff. Just remarkable. So I got an update for you on that as well. And the big strike with the gangsters at the leadership, not the membership, of course, but the leadership gangsters at the Longshoremen's Union, going right back to Marlon Brando and On the Waterfront and the organized crime committee hearings in the 1950s and the Godfather, the movie The Godfather, remarkable stuff. But we got the gangsters on, and you see the head gangster. I was talking to you about him yesterday. The head gangster in charge, the president of the Longshoremen's Association. It's not a union; it's an association. And this guy, turns out, he makes like $900,000 a year, more than $900,000 a year. He wears his 70-something foot yacht now. He's got a 70-something foot yacht, and he's been seen driving around in a Bentley automobile which is a real nice car, a Bentley. I think almost everybody would like a Bentley, right? That's nice. But there's the union leader, and he's a regular guy. And his sons make a very good living off of the union, too. Very generous union, this union. Amazing stuff. Now, which organized crime family in New York, which I don't want to smear the organized crime family by associating this guy with them. You might think that it worked the other way around, but I don't think so. And we're hoarding bananas already. I don't know about you, but we're already freezing bananas and hoarding bananas because we keep hearing that bananas will be one of the first things that comes up short. And we've got a whole lot of. Yesterday, I believe there were 3 ships offshore. Just yesterday, there were 3 ships offshore waiting to get into American ports. Today, one day later, there are 38 ships now waiting to get into American ports because the gangster that drives the Bentley and down to a 70-something foot yacht and makes nearly $1 million a year for being a union leader, they're demanding, and that's the right word, a 77% raise. They're over the next 6 years. They're being offered a 50% raise plus, good retirement, more better retirement stuff, and health care. But they don't want that. They want 77%. Otherwise, what was the we'll have to play that too, Michael. What are they going to kneecap you? They're going to cripple you. They're going to, honestly, they're bringing a ball-peen hammer down to the negotiations because they think it's an Elia Kazan movie that on the waterfront. Thing there. So we got that. And the Democrats are all in bed with Longshoremen's Union, so that's them. The Democrats are all in bed with Iran firing all the missiles at Israel, the attack on civilization. Finally, I heard a couple of people yesterday starting to use my language, adopt my terminology on this, and that this is a battle of civilization against the opposite of civilization, which is the way it should have always been phrased, going back to even before September 11th, go to 2000, that's before 2001, the attack on the USS Cole in the port of Aden in Yemen. And the troglodytes are still on the loose. They're terrorists, and they're that's what they do. They're terror people. So we've got those big stories. And because the Democrats are loose, they're on the loose. They haven't been incarcerated, although so many of them should be. There are a lot of other crazy stories out there, too, because you know how they are, don't you? Wah, wah, wah. The New York Times has their take on the big debate last night, and you'll be surprised to learn it's a lot like the MSNBC take on the debate last night, where Rachel Maddow, is she a man or a woman? Is she a woman or a man? I was thinking, the person that stole the Trump sign in downtown Alexandria and destroyed it yesterday. We should have a contest online and ask people whether they think that's a man or a woman that stole that Trump Vance sign and destroyed it. We should post that and just let people opine. That is to offer your opinion. For Democrats trying to listen along but failing. Remarkable stuff. We are at 888-630-9625. 888-630-9625. The big debate. Also, morning joke this morning. Rachel Maddow, she declared Waltz to be the big winner last night. Maybe her TV's broken or something. Maybe her brain is broken. She's a Rhodes Scholar, another brilliant leftist who high IQ, God's gift to them, and then still absolutely wrong about everything. Everything. Couldn't be more wrong. And then morning joke this morning. Oh, clearly a Walz win last night. They live in the Soviet Union. They live in Pol Pot's Cambodia, these people. I got to tell you, so, what are they going to do next? Be harvesting organs from children or something? These lunatics? Oh, wait a minute. They're already doing that, too. That's part of their thing, too. They're like primitive life forms. Before the Europeans got to America, sacrificing children in volcanoes in the Americas, the Democrat Party. And 888-630-9625. All right, people want to talk about this, that's for sure, and rightly so. It's just the future of humankind in the balance. Other than that, shouldn't really amount to much. Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to any of the big stories today. Let's go to Michael calling from Wilmington, North Carolina. Miguelo, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hi, Chris. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Welcome. Happy to have you.
I was just wondering if you saw a connection between Iran's attack on Israel on Jimmy Carter's 100th birthday.
Since Jimmy Carter passed the torch in Iran from the Pahlavi family and the Shah's era to the Ayatollahs, and now the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is in charge, and he's in hiding, and they fired. You know, that is a great question, Michael. I think that's a really fun question. And here's my thought when you bring that up. I think if the Ayatollahs were being more thoughtful, they would have, because yesterday was Jimmy Carter's 100th birthday, right? And I think they should have fired 100 missiles at Israel, just a perfect round 100. And that would be a real celebration of Jimmy Carter's time as president, because he left the world a more dangerous place. He left Iran in a lurch. When I say in a lurch, I am thinking about John Kerry, of course, because, you know, he's the lurch of the Democrat Party from the Addams family. But that is an interesting question. Any link between Iran? I think Iran just wants to kill Jews any day of the year, you know, the Ayatollahs and those guys. So probably not. You know, the news media, Michael, a lot of them are calling it retaliation. That's the word they're using, that Iran retaliated, and this was retaliation against Israel, as though Israel's the aggressor in this circumstance. And it's a peculiar word to use. But I think that you raise a fun question, and I'd feel better if they just fired 100 missiles at Israel, and then the last one, you know, exploded and had like a Jimmy Carter happy birthday firework.
Well, yeah, I think the first phase was 100 anyway, so that's what I saw on Fox. But thank you for your show, and we enjoy it every day.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Michael. I think you're right. I think the first one I saw said 100 missiles, and then they fired 80-something more, which kind of, you know, takes the bloom off the bud when it comes to honoring Jimmy Carter on his 100th birthday. But Jimmy certainly played a major role. He had a hand in making the world a much more dangerous place, because Democrat policies have consequences. All the political prisoners, the torture, the mayhem. Thanks, Jimmy Carter, and happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday. Oh, Bernie, thanks so much for calling.
Also, the Democrats, you know, they, like the whole Kennedy family and the Democrat Party writ large, they've got a lot of issues with women and with gender, with masculinity, which they identify as toxic. They want to be toxic. It's remarkable stuff. And recently, the news media told us that the sexiest man alive was Kamala Harris's husband, and she is his second wife, right? And they say that Doug Emhoff, who is kind of a nub, a boring nub, next door neighbor, the guy down the street standing in the front yard with a garden hose, he's supposed to be the sexiest man alive. That's what the Democrats say, because I've been saying for years they want to have sex with all the Democrat politicians. It's why they like politicians. And very often they do, like Olivia Nuzzi, in New York, and her ex-fiance, Ryan Lizza, who's now with Politico, used to be with the Washington Post, and they don't have normal lives or relationships. There are a lot of abnormality going on there. But you may recall that Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, had what you might call a sexual affair with the children's nanny, is the way that it was written, and she became impregnated. The Jerusalem Post reported on the story. Doug Emhoff's first marriage ended after an affair with nanny resulted in pregnancy. and the Daily Mail reported on it. The Washington Post really didn't because they're not a newspaper. The first marriage of Doug Emhoff, the husband of U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris, ended after Emhoff had an affair with the children's nanny, resulting in her becoming pregnant. That's how that happens, right? That's a little old-fashioned. The Daily Mail reported in an exclusive piece on Saturday, that was way back when, the second gentleman cheated on his first wife. Her name is Kirsten, and with Najan Naylor, who also taught the children at their private school. So she's the teacher and the nanny. She's the sheriff and the mayor. She's everything rolled into one, and then a little bit more, because Doug Emhoff, he just needed, what did he need, Mike? He needed some love, is what he needed. That's pretty remarkable stuff. So the ridiculous person that is Doug Emhoff, the alleged husband of the current vice president of the United States who's running for president, but there he is. It's the young woman is the teacher at the school, and then, hey, maybe you'd like to be nanny to my kids, and then, hey, maybe I've got another idea. Maybe we can, and then knocks her up, gets her pregnant. And you know what they say? They say she didn't keep the child. Now, they make it perfectly unclear. Did she have the baby and give it up for adoption? Nobody actually thinks that's the case. But she didn't have the child. And I'm wondering then, like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, did he show up to give her a ride, to the abortion place? And did he throw her a few bucks? Because it would be ungentlemanly, I think. During my first marriage, she said, Kirsten and I went through some tough times. Yeah, well, she did anyway. What was the Rough Rider over here? We went through some tough times on account of my actions. I took responsibility, and in the years since, we worked through things as a family and have come out stronger on the other side. Yeah, well, now that, that scurvy girl that Kamala Harris calls her stepdaughter with the tattoos and she looks like she's auditioning for Sophie's Choice Part 2, and that's all perfectly normal, right? So we got that going on. That's Doug Emhoff, and we know that about Doug Emhoff, that he was the nanny and the teacher. And then there was this kind of amusing moment. Jen Psaki, who is a fake journalist with fake NBC fake news on MSDNC, and she is going around saying that Doug Emhoff reshaped masculinity. That's what he's done to masculinity.
An interesting part of how people have talked about your role here is how your role has reshaped the perception of masculinity. And I'm not sure you planned on that, but you are an incredibly supportive spouse.
Yeah, well, not to his first wife, but he was fairly supportive of the nanny who was the kid's teacher. It's pretty amazing stuff. So you got that going on. Well, there's an update on all of this because today's update is Doug Emhoff, quote, slapped ex-girlfriend, end quote, friends claim. So they got, this internet thing just keeps on updating. It's Gutenberg couldn't have imagined. He created the Bible, the printing press, all that stuff. Didn't create the Bible, but the printing press, and pretty remarkable stuff. So the Daily Mail, once again, has the story, but you'll never guess who doesn't. The Washington Post doesn't. Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, quote, forcefully slapped ex-girlfriend for flirting with another man. No sense of irony. Was the other man the nanny? Was the other man the kid's teacher? In booze-fueled assault after date at star-studded gala. The star-studded gala must have been the Media Research Center gala, the MRC gala. That's probably where it was. Vice President Kamala Harris's husband assaulted his ex-girlfriend. Now you know why she's the ex-girlfriend. Really, he should call Olivia Nuzzi because she might be available. She likes politicians, Democrat politicians. That's what makes her a journalist, Something like that. Vice President Kamala Harris's husband assaulted his ex-girlfriend. 3 friends have told the Daily Mail, the newspaper in the United Kingdom. The second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, 59 years old, allegedly struck the woman in the face, so hard she spun around while waiting in a valet line late night after a May 2012 Cannes Film Festival event in France. Was it a French slap? Because those are different. Those are completely different. Not as aggressive. Remarkable stuff. So the Daily Mail is not naming the woman, meaning they have the name of the woman, who is a successful New York attorney. Sure, she is. Probably works for the Longshoremen's Union or something. But we'll refer to her by the pseudonym Jane. They call her by the pseudonym Jane. You know what her real name is? Jane. Not really. I just made that up, but it could be. We're going to call her Jane. That's remarkable. So a Daily Mail not naming. They're going to call her Jane. A second Fred said Jane, who had been dating Emhoff for 3 months. And there they are in Cannes. Now, where's the nanny at this point? That's what I want to know. And where's the tattooed kid from the first marriage, the Scarvy girl? They declared, remember they told us that she was a big fashion model, an international fashion model. Honestly, she looked like something from a horror movie, but, I don't want to, but it's true. And they told us that, I wouldn't say anything about her if they hadn't told us that she was a world-class global fashion model when she was, of course, nothing of the kind. But here we go. So, been dating for 3 months, told her about the alleged violence at the time. That's contemporaneous testimony. We're going to have to, where's that Pound Me Too movement? What happened to Pound Me Too? This is a good opportunity for the Democrats to step up and defend women, isn't it? Because it's always Democrats doing this, and from Jeffrey Epstein to Harvey Weinstein to Bill Clinton to Joe Biden sexually assaulting Tara Reid. She's had to flee the country because she doesn't feel safe in Joe Biden's America. That's not a news story, though, because our news story, they slap their women, too. Let's go. Let's get Ryan Liz on the phone and see what he's done with Livia Nutzi, because things have gotten a little weird over there, haven't they? A third friend told the Daily Mail that Jane first told her in 2014 that she had dated Emhoff and recounted the full story of his alleged abuse in 2018 when then-Senator Kamala Harris was in the news after grilling Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, who never did anything wrong to any woman ever, but that mental case that, what was it, 2 front doors and she's afraid to fly unless you send a private jet, in which case she's okay with that. Remarkable stuff. Brett Kavanaugh in a Senate hearing over sexual assault allegations which were debunked and completely false. And even the nutty woman's family wants nothing to do with her. But that's another story. So the friends who all asked not to be named for fear of retaliation by Emhoff, because it's the Soviet Union, we've honestly. And other documents and communications corroborating elements of the story. And they've got a picture here of Doug Emhoff hugging the woman, but they blurred the woman out because she's just Jane, and you can't have that. Here's the thing. If you're a woman, Republican men are much better men. Our masculinity is not toxic. It's normal. It's biological. It's natural. It's culturally appropriate. We're the good guys. And we're not going to, it's not that no Republican man has ever cheated, because I think that's happened. But when that happens, you date a Republican man, going to be a good man, a comfortable in his own skin kind of man, and probably won't be dating men on the side or eating cats, things like that.
There's too much of toxicity. It's masculine toxicity out there, and we've kind of confused what it means to be a man, what it means to be masculine, where you've got this trope out there that you've got to be tough and, angry and lash
He's tough
out
with women.
To be strong. It's just the opposite. And I'm going to continue to use this platform every time I get to speak out against this toxic masculinity that's out there.
Stop beating women. Let's start with that. Stop beating women. Stop cheating on your wife with the nanny, who's also the kid's school teacher. He brought her to Cannes. She's frail. This is great. I got a new boyfriend. His name is Doug Emhoff. We're going to France. We're going to the Cannes Film Festival. It's going to be great. Have you ever been to Cannes? It's wonderful. I think you're going to love it. What? I'm sorry, what? That was completely out of order. What did you What's the matter with you? Doug Emhoff. And there he is. That's preaching to Jonathan Capehart about toxic masculinity. Jonathan Capehart, who does not suffer from toxic masculinity. There's no doubt about that. He didn't have anything to say, and everything to say back. The Daily Mail, was it the Daily Mail, contacted Jane, and she didn't want to comment because they all live in fear. Know what I'm talking about? Womp, womp, womp. All right, let's take a phone call. It's the update on Doug Emhoff, who is Kamala Harris's husband, current husband, and she is running for the presidency of the United States. Get a wife beater back into the White House now. That's what the Democrats say. They want a wife beater in the White House again. Of course, and I was thinking of the Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton White House, and she was the spousal of, he was an abusive husband, but she's the one that threw ashtrays and bounced him off his skull and lamps and things. But never mind that. All right, let's take a phone call. Enough of Doug Emhoff. But really, the Democrats, they want to populate the White House with this guy, the nanny knocker-upper, the girlfriend at the Cannes Film Festival beater, and the guy who condemns toxic masculinity, right? These people, can I just say, those people are not what they should be. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Daniel, calling from Jacksonville, North Carolina. Daniel, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hey, good morning, Chris. So I'm actually just calling because, I live in Jacksonville, North Carolina. I have a family that lives up in Asheville. That place is absolutely destroyed. And it astounds me that the only person that's trying to do anything for that community right now is Donald Trump. And I hope that community is paying attention, because if the Democrats don't know, the demographic up in Asheville, North Carolina is 100% their voting bloc. If those people are down hard from now until Election Day, they're gonna lose state elections, national elections that are going to impact. Like, North Carolina is supposed to be a swing state for them. They've been trying to turn it purple forever, and it shows their ineptitude on their ability to actually pay attention to what's going on in this country and do something good for the people that they claim they're trying to help.
Well,
I had a daughter.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just wondering. I mean, do you think they care? But I want you to tell the story you're about to tell about your daughter.
Yeah, so my daughter, she lives up there with her mother, my daughter's now my son, so that's one thing. But that's the type of community we're talking about. That's everything that the Democrats sit there and say, this is what we're trying to achieve in America, and they have completely ignored them. And she was down hard for like 3 or 4 days. I couldn't get in touch with her. I couldn't, figure out if she needed any help. There was no way to get up there to even try and go find her. And eventually, she did come back up online. And fortunately, her neighborhood wasn't hit as hard as some of the other ones. But it just goes to show, they just don't care. Everything they say is lip service. They don't care about literally the people that they need to get out there and vote for them, because it just, it's whatever. They'll find votes somewhere.
Well, you're 100% right. I agree with you completely. That's because they're not liberals. I think liberals care about other people. The left does not care about other people, and these people are the left. Now, you just threw so much in there, of course, Daniel, and Asheville is the big liberal hotbed in the state, right?
Absolutely. It's the San Francisco of the East Coast.
The San Francisco of the East Coast. And your daughter is now your son, you said.
Yep. Yes, sir. I still call her my daughter, though. I named her when she was born.
Wow. And living there with her mother, you're living
there when I was 18 years old and still a little bit impressionable. 23 years later in the Marine Corps, I've got a good head on my shoulders.
Well, it sounds like it. God bless you. You've got a lot on your plate, Daniel. I appreciate the call. We had Michael call in from North Carolina a few minutes ago. Now, Daniel, also from North Carolina, thank you very, very much. And I've got a brother named Michael, and I got a brother named Daniel, just coincidentally. All right. I'm just getting warmed up here. Still organizing the pieces. And we should go back to the telephones. A lot of stories to get to, a lot of audio to get to from last night at the big vice presidential debate and more. But right now, let's go to the phones. Let's go to John, calling from Kensington, Maryland. John, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, John.
Between Doug Emhoff and the nanny, that was more than just adultery. That was a employee-employer relationship. Now, I'm sure if that had happened in Kamala in the Senate, if there's a testimony, she would have definitely skewered the employer in that employee-employer relationship. What does she do with Doug Emhoff? She marries him.
Well, there's a great old saying, and it's were it not for double standards, liberals would have no standards at all, right? And you're absolutely right. Now,
I've heard that before.
Joe Biden had an employee-employer relationship of sorts. It was forcible with a staffer in his Senate office, right? And a young woman that he sexually assaulted with his hands and fingers, and that woman has left the country because she's so afraid of what the Biden family might have done to her. And the New York Times doesn't care. They think that's funny because they have people sign non-disclosure agreements all the time. I'm wondering, did Joe Biden have his wonderful staffer that he sexually assaulted? Did Tara Reade have to sign a non-disclosure agreement, an NDA, before leaving the Joe Biden Senate office after she was sexually assaulted? Because, President Trump, they tried to put him in jail for 100 years for a non-disclosure agreement. But the Democrats, they use non-disclosure agreements all the time. John, hypocrisy is a really major thing with the Democrats, I've noticed. I think that they can't be trusted and certainly don't marry them.